Hi, my name is Chris McCullough. I'm a professor of drawing and painting at YSU, where I also coordinate the MFA in Interdisciplinary Visual Arts. The focus of my work is primarily framed in the cultural context of gender and society. The paintings you see here, Beaver and Piece of Meat, are from Her, a series of 16 works in encaustic and mixed media on panel that focuses on gender-specific vernacular and its impact on self-identity. The works reference colloquial terms, endearing and rude, used to both characterize and objectify girls and women. On the surface, the paintings appear to be innocuous images rendered in a superficially reassuring visual style. It is only after reading the titles that the message becomes clear. Increasingly, young girls form standards of appearance and measure themselves by notions of beauty and behavior promoted by social media, film, television, music videos, reality shows, and advertising. The visual and verbal language of the media plays an enormous role in shaping, for both men and women, the picture of a desirable female and fabricating the requisite traits of a popular girl or woman. I see each image as a symbol to be read much like the iconographic language of symbols present in Western art, especially that of the Renaissance. The interpretation of each image or sign depends on the context in which it is used and the relationship to the collective whole. As I mentioned earlier, this series is executed in encaustic and mixed media. Encaustic is an ancient process of painting with pigmented beeswax mixed with melted resin. Perhaps the best known encaustic works are the Fayum mummy portraits by Greek painters in Egypt in the 1st and 2nd centuries AD. Encaustic painting resurfaced in the mid-20th century. I was immediately intrigued the first time I was exposed to the medium used in a contemporary representational manner. Encaustic colors mix much like traditional oil paint, but on a heated aluminum palette. Heat is applied to each layer to bind the medium. The application of heat produces unpredictable results and makes edges difficult to control. For this reason, most contemporary encaustic painting is abstract in nature. The number 16 alludes to the number of images found on the game board of La Loteria, a game of chance, commonly called Mexican bingo. Instead of just calling a letter and number, the announcer for La Loteria shares a small phrase or poem that hints at the image. The innuendo often depends on the social context within which the game is played and can reference contemporary social commentary. The arrangement of the individual images is intended to change with each installation. This fluctuating and arbitrary arrangement may modify the interpretation of the visual sign, just as random encounters with visual and verbal messages in contemporary society can influence the development of self-identity. Lunar and Facing West are from an earlier series painted entirely in encaustic. The series, titled Catalogue of Relics, confronts the body as landscape and incorporates the physical properties of encaustic with contemporary concern for self-identity and the scarring effects of breast cancer. Encaustic allows for unique textural details, and its glazing properties produce luminous qualities suggestive of flesh. Nature, when anthropomorphized, is most often characterized as female, creating a parallel between landscape and women. The title of the series originates from the treatise Inventory of Relics by the 16th century Protestant reformer John Calvin and extends reference to the Egyptian-influenced custom of preserving the human form to attain immortality. This series of breastscapes preserves and honors the memory of the lost or transformed breast while simultaneously creating a relic of the remaining fragment. Fear of the unknown can be a powerful factor in how we relate to others, especially for many post-9/11 Westerners. This diptych in acrylic and gold leaf on panel is from a series titled Veiled Tolerance. I had the opportunity to spend time with Muslim women while traveling in Turkey who had chosen to wear the hijab or headscarf in religious observation, though clearly it was also regarded as a fashion accessory. The paintings align contemporary Muslim women wearing the hijab with widely recognized women from Western popular culture of the 1950s and 60s wearing the headscarf. The portraits themselves are executed monochromatically to draw attention to the head coverings, while each background contains a pastiche of culturally relevant images, such as Turkish tea glasses, the evil eye, hand of Hamsa, details from Anatolian historical monuments, tooled leather cowboy boot designs, and the eye from the dollar bill. Mount Rushmore is mirrored by a similarly carved edifice of Ataturk in Izmir, bridging the panels. I found visual parallels between the mystery surrounding the hijab and that of the habits worn by Catholic nuns in my grade school. Analysis of head coverings in history suggested further connections between the hijab and the headscarf as both a religious symbol and as a fashion accessory, prompting a road to commonalities rather than discord. Details include Turkish tile and carpet designs, the symbol for Istanbul, the shrine of the poet Rumi, patterns from Tiffany windows, the Chrysler Building, and the Statue of Liberty. The paintings pose simple visual analogies, thereby creating a conduit for conversation that has the potential to engender understanding. My penchant for narrative is deeply rooted. Much of my inspiration is drawn from the mundane minutiae of everyday life, mixed with a dose of humor and imagination, and laced with acerbic observation. Undeniably, my background plays a large part. Years of Catholic school collided simultaneously with the counterculture movements of the 1960s and early 70s. But it was the ideological battle over women's rights and a woman's proper place that has been a source of continuous motivation. Paris Twist is the name of a hairdo in a beauty styling guide by Mr. Ray. The irony of attraction is played out in the indifference of the male figure in the background. The painting is a triptych that openly hints at my abiding interest in the Northern Renaissance. The color of the side panels suggests the greenish hue of black and white TVs of the era. What fascinates me about the work coming out of Northern Europe in the 15th and 16th centuries is the obsession with daily life and the finicky attention to surprising details. In the middle panel, I employ a convergence of zones, common in early Flemish painting. The entire story unfolds in a single panel as we move from the woman stepping out of the tub to her rendition of I Dreamed I Was a Knockout in My Maidenform Bra, to the patiently waiting paragon of loveliness. Elegance takes its name from another hairdo by Mr. Ray. The side panels are drawn from a series of handy pocket manuals by Joe Bonamo titled Make Up and Live. The paradox here is that Mr. Ray and Mr. Bonamo are the experts. Color, technique, and aesthetics are important to me. My goal is to create open-ended narratives that entice the viewer to look. I do not see a division between conceptual motivation and pictorial representation. This colored pencil drawing is titled His and Hers. Though the body language and juxtaposition of the toy figures offer clues, the signs and symbols can be read multiple ways, reflecting on the complexity of everyday human interactions. Lately, I have had the desire to return to larger, more complex narratives that address psychological and social pressures using lush color and playful familiar objects, that upon closer inspection reveal an underlying tension. I am encouraged by the recent resurgence in female activism leading to renewed enthusiasm for the examination of what it means to be a woman in the world today. Be mindful, be aware, look and listen, for it is the small and inconsequential fragments that speak volumes.